guys, welcome to the Refined Savage. We are in the middle of the holiday season. It's one of my favorite times of the year. Got a great podcast for you today. Let's talk about sponsors real quick. Hey, just got a package, speaking of the holidays, from my brother, my boy, my pal, Evan Armstrong and Viking Coffee. Viking Coffee, best shit on the planet. He sent me a package of their Christmas blend coffee, which I am a huge fan of. He sent me one of their spanking new hats, which I am currently wearing in studio. And he sent me one of their awesome coffee mugs that I happen to be looking at right here. It says, drink coffee, work hard. It is awesome. Super deep. I can get lots of coffee in there. I'm super psyched. Anyhow, Viking Coffee. Give them a holler. Check them out. They'd be perfect for stocking stuffers. He's still got some coffee ready to go before the holidays. Give him a shout. VikingCoffeeCo.com. Use the code VikingCoffee10 at checkout for 10% off. The people at Cerberus Steel want you to know that there is still time on the clock to get that favorite meathead in your life, some gear, some equipment, anything they need to get them strong. Cerberus has it. Cerberus-strength.us. They have everything from smelling salts and tacky to belts and t-shirts and everything in between. Everything you need to get swole. Use the code REFINEDSAVAGE10 at checkout for 10% off. And speaking of awesome holiday stocking stuffers, Warrior CBD. Who wouldn't want a little CBD oil in their stockings this year? Warrior CBD has everything you need. They have muscle and joint pain rubs, which are fantastic. I am a huge fan of the sublingual drops. Give them a holler. If you need help figuring out what exactly you need, give Nancy a shout on Instagram. Tell her I sent you, and then go and buy some CBD oil from her. WarriorCBDofficial.com. Use the code WARRIOR20 off at checkout. Serious Steel. They've got it all, brothers and sisters. You do not need to go to some giant international company for your gym equipment. If you are outfitting any kind of gym, if you need any kind of strength training equipment, they've got it. SeriousSteel.com. Use the code SAVAGE at checkout for 10% off. The good folks at Stay Classy Meats, man, I am out. I'm 100% out right now. Couldn't be at worse timing, right before the holidays. Hey, nobody's fault but my own. I go through this shit so fast, it's unbelievable. Stay Classy Meats. Small batch farms raising high quality animals on beautiful pastures in Montana. These animals are being treated humanely. They're being butchered humanely. Don't listen to this nonsense, game changer, vegan bullshit propaganda nonsense. Listen, you want to be able to lift heavy weights. You want to be able to run fast and far. You want to be able to chase your wife around the house, get boners at the age that you are. You need meat. You need meat in your life. You need good, solid meat that hasn't been injected with hormones and treated like shit. Stay Classy Meats is your ticket. StayClassyMeats.com. Use the code SAVAGE at checkout for 10% off. They have build your own boxes. They have the elite box. They have every box in between. Hey, if you need help, give me a holler. I will help you figure out what you want in your box. Trust me, you will not regret it. Iron and Stone Strength. They just had their awesome Festivus competition up there at Iron and Stone. It looked like it went off without a hitch. They had like 800 athletes. There was a ton of athletes up there. But they have plenty of gear available that you need under your tree this year. Give them a shout. ironandstonestrength.com. Hoodies, t-shirts, hats, sweatpants, whatever you need, these guys have it. Great people. They're our kind of people. They come from strongman background. They're starting a small business, and let's support these guys, man. Use the code REFINEDSAVAGE at checkout for 20% off. Our new sponsors this month, Impact Mouth Guards. Hey, are you a tooth grinder? Do you spend all night like a mental patient grinding your teeth and ruining your choppers? Are you a jiu-jitsu guy who needs a mouth guard? Are you a MMA fighter who needs a mouth guard? Are you a football player, lacrosse player? Whatever you need, Impact Mouth Guards can hook you up. They send you a mold, you make a mold of your teeth, and then they can customize these mouth guards any way you want done. They are fantastic products, and they are perfectly designed to keep you from getting concussions, from breaking your teeth, from breaking your jaw, whatever you need protection from. Impact Mouth Guards has it for you. Give them a shout, man. I've checked them out, man. The prices are very low for what you're getting, and I think you're going to be really pleased. And the designs are out of this world. Super cool mouth guards. Refined Savage at checkout for 15% off. Finally today, the Beard Struggle. Are you one of these giant Viking barbarian bastards with a big, giant, bushy beard? I know I get that way every once in a while, and then it drives me crazy, and then I have to grow it back, and we all make choices in life. But the Beard Struggle, if you need any kind of beard grooming product, whether it's beard balm, beard oil, beard trimmers, beard brushes and combs, anything you need, they have it. They've got an awesome Instagram page. Very funny stuff. Give them a holler. Check them out, guys. I think you're going to like these products. I know that keeping that beard smelling and looking fresh is essential if you're going to have a big, giant, bushy beard. You don't want it to look like shit. These guys will help you out. Check them out at thebeardstruggle.com and use the code REFINESAVAGE at checkout for 15% off. Hey, today on the show, we have Strongman Pro Anthony Diehl. Anthony is an amazing guy, an amazing athlete, and we had a fantastic conversation, not just about strongman, about life in general, and it was really good, and I had a lot of fun with this guy, and we'll definitely have him on the show again. So, great conversation. I want you to check it out. Please, 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 please share this episode with your friends and family, and hell, share it with people you don't like. I don't care. Share it with whoever you want. Let's grow this thing. Let's make this a movement we can all be proud of, because we're all in this together, right? All right. Anthony Diehl, we'll see you at the end. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
How long a drive was it?
About 5 hours.
You up from Lexington.
Yeah. It was interesting. I put it in the GPS yesterday and it said 5 hours and 45 minutes. I was like, what? And this morning I got on the road. There was nobody on the road. It was a straight shot. It was super easy.
Yeah, like I said, until you get to Columbus, then you got to do all those back roads all the way up here. And
511 and something else.
Yeah, right?
It's forever. It's farm country, but that's like home to me, so it was fine.
I spend so much time in Columbus for this show. I get so used to those stupid country roads. It just drives me nuts, though, because you almost get, like you're not paying attention. All of a sudden, you're in Mansfield or something, and you've driven an hour and have no idea how you got there. But so where do you train down there?
So actually, people ask me that. I actually have like 3 gym memberships. It's tough because I live in Lexington, and where I train strongman is Frankfort, the capital. So it's about a 45-minute drive.
Yeah.
That gym down there, actually, the guy who runs the strongman section is the state chair for Strongman Corporation for Kentucky.
Okay.
So it's nice because it has absolutely everything we could possibly need.
Right.
And then I have a gym that's a commercial gym in Lexington, kind of favors bodybuilders, but they have a lot of great equipment, solid deadlift bars, axles, things like that. But they don't have logs or anything. So then I've got another gym that I do my personal training out of. They let me keep my log and other things there. So yeah. I kind of have a couple of gyms I can go to in Lexington, but really when it's competition prep time, we're in Frankfurt.
Yeah.
Because they have absolutely everything, logs, stones, everything you can need.
Is it a far drive for you? Or?
No, it's not bad. 45 minutes.
See, okay, so 45 minutes. I get, when I was training Highland Games, and before the CrossFit boom really took off, there was no place to get like bumper plates or anything like that. So I would drive to this gym that was like a half hour away to train. And so it was a half hour there, half hour back. Nothing crazy, but I wanted to go. I mean, I passed probably 14 gyms on the way, but I would go out there just because they had the stuff I needed. Well, nowadays, you talk to people and they're like, "Oh, I'd go to your gym, but it's a 20-minute drive." I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Seriously, there's no. I mean, I know people that still make like 2-hour drives. I mean, I have some clients that I train online that live in the rural sticks in Alabama or even Tennessee, and there's nothing immediately near them.
Yeah.
And so we do 4 days a week in the gym. And then their event days, when it's competition time, they're driving 2 hours, sometimes one way, but it's worth it to them.
Yeah.
So I'm like, whenever I hear somebody say they're not willing to drive like 20 minutes, I just laugh. I mean, even 45 minutes, not a big deal. And now, like with CrossFit, you do have bumper plates everywhere, but to get that environment, it's super important. Heidi Hauer, who's been on the show a bunch of times, I believe she's driving from Cincinnati to Columbus like 3 times a week just to train at Westside Barbell. Wow.
Now, she's already a world record holder, already like the strongest broad on the planet for her body weight. but she wants that environment. She wants to be coached, and she's willing to do it.
I'll tell you what, one of the things that helps me is all the guys I train with are heavyweights. And so I'm constantly pushing myself against them. I don't compare myself. And then, I don't mean this to sound rude or arrogant, but I don't really compare myself to my peers unless they're the top of the peer group. You know, when I say, when I'm looking at 105Ks and I'm comparing myself, I'm looking at Anthony Furman and Terry Rady and Nick Canby, and where do I stack against those guys?
Yeah.
No offense, I'm not going to get any value out of comparing myself to the dudes that are showing up, you know, at the regular backyard shows. I want to be compared against the best, and then in my actual training environment, you know, I'm training with guys that are 16, 70 pounds heavier than me, so I'm trying to outpress them, I'm trying to outpull them, you know, right? And
that's
so
just being competitive, and
right, and we're good friends, and we support each other and stuff. That helps me because, you know, if you're always the biggest person in the room, you're in the wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of Anthony Furman, did you see his post this week?
Which one?
About if you're a girl on gear, you shouldn't be bitching about.
Yeah, well, it all started because of the articles coming out right now, you know, about these transgenders.
It was just funny that it just blew. And I'm not on Facebook anymore, so my wife's reading it, and she's like, "Oh God, this thing's blowing up."
You know why it's blowing up? I was like texting him privately because this is his. He pulled, you know, for nationals. I did like a 30-pound water cut, and then 11 days later did it again for ASM. He did the same thing. He cut for America's Strongest Man, and then he's in the middle of his cut for OSG that starts today. And so he was already in a super pissy mood, and he's sarcastic.
We've had him on the show. He's good.
He's hilarious. So you combine his normal self with a carb-depleted, water-level angry, and you're going to get, you know, stirring the pot extraordinaire.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
What a crazy time we live in where this is even an argument that men transitioning to women should even be allowed to compete as women.
It's mind-blowing to me. I don't even understand it. Like, it wasn't even fathomable. This conversation wasn't fathomable.
Right. This isn't even a thing that we could even imagine.
Right. It's so anti-common sense too. Like, regardless of anybody's positions on letting people do whatever they want to do, fine. But no, if you've had testosterone coursing through your veins for 20 years, I don't care. You have an advantage. I don't care how much estrogen you take.
Right.
Or what color wig you put on. Like, the end. I mean, you have a physiological advantage. Your bone density is greater. Your muscle mass is greater. Everything's greater.
Yeah, it's you would think it's common sense, and it's common sense for people. It should definitely be common sense for people who have been in these sports and competed in them, and women are the ones who are screwing themselves by supporting it. You know, it's never going to hurt me. I don't care.
Right.
And I don't care what you do in your personal life. You know, if you want to transition to a woman, I'm going to call you she or her or whatever. But it doesn't mean you're not going to go through some obstacles. You're not going to have obstacles put in your way because you've decided to live this life.
Right.
The way it doesn't mean that all doors automatically should just open up for you because you say, now I'm Marsha instead of Mark. You know,
just decide to do. I mean, if I just decide to, I want to open my own gym one day. If I just decide to, there's a lot that goes into that. I don't just get all the opportunities and everything I need right away. You know, when you have choices have consequences. So if you choose to live this lifestyle, fine, cool, you have the rights to do that in the United States of America. Understand then, though, that these consequences, like being limited in what sport you can compete in.
And you look at it from all different perspectives of life. I decided to get married. Well, I'm married, but I should still be able to fuck a whole bunch of different chicks, right? Isn't that? I mean, it's my right to do that, you know? No, I made a decision to be married, and that's the decision I made. So that's off limits to me.
Right.
And I don't think that I don't think there's a reasonable argument that, like you said, someone who's had testosterone running through their veins and they've got big giant hands. I mean, you can't get rid of that bone density and just by switching the hormones you put in your body. And some of them aren't even doing that. Some of them are just saying, I identify as a woman, so I should be able to compete as a woman. And you know, they used to have the argument about, you know, if a transgender feels more comfortable using a woman's bathroom. Look, I think the argument was, well, you know, you're going to have perverts who pretend to be women who hang out in the bathroom. I
You have perverts, period.
Exactly. And I don't care. If I'm, if there's a transgender woman who feels safer and more secure going into the women's bathroom, I'm not worried that my wife's going to be attacked in the bathroom or anything,
So that's why we have the Second Amendment.
Well, yeah, sure. That's a weird thing. I keep trying to get my wife, I'd love for my wife to be able to carry concealed because she works in downtown Cleveland at the VA, but the VA won't let you carry any kind of weaponry into the VA.
Which is really ironic.
Right. So, like, You've
got the most qualified people on the planet who can't carry them. What is that?
And nobody's searching you.
Right.
So, like, my friend, who's now the local police chief here, went down there to get his stuff done for the VA, and he walks in full police uniform with a gun on his hip. They wouldn't let him in. But
unreal.
All these people are walking in the door with backpacks on, and nobody's searching them. And
it's ridiculous.
Well, government.
Right. The government's ridiculous. If the government does it, it's inefficient. I mean, that's just kind of where
Yeah, that's...
The government way oversteps its bounds, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's and it just keeps getting worse and worse.
Punish the evil, provide for a common defense, the end.
Yeah,
right?
Fix my roads and make sure no one's invading.
Yeah, and even roads could be privatized. I mean, look how long it takes when government do roads, and you have like 7 guys standing there with signs, right? I guarantee you, some private companies could probably do it better. But yeah, I mean, I think the government's gone from protecting the good to deciding what good is. And in my mind, the only thing that should be punishable are actual crimes, things that actually harm other people.
Right.
But instead, we've now included vices into that list. And so the government's constantly overstepping.
Well, that's, and you look at it's the Canadian government, but you look at the whole thing with Jordan Peterson. The way he became famous is the Canadian government insisted that people start using these made-up pronouns for transgenders or people who had problems with their gender identity. And he's such a, when you hear him talk, he's such a no-nonsense, data-driven person. Then he was like, I'm not going to use these made-up names because this is nonsense talk. And all of a sudden he was, anti-transgender and anti-woman and anti-gay and racist and homophobic. And it was just like, I've heard him talk on several podcasts, and I don't get any of that off of him.
He's not. And he has friends who are gay.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Which is always the way. I have black friends.
Right.
I'm not a racist. I have black friends.
Which is hilarious. But yeah, he's not that way at all. People don't like it because he's honest and backs up his assertions with actual research.
Yeah, it's
now, I will say this: there's some people, and I've been guilty of this in the past. You can tell somebody what you believe to be the truth in a way where they might be offended at what you said, but not you and how you said it. And I've been guilty in the past of being personally offensive.
Yeah.
So I don't care if somebody is offended by my personal belief, but I don't have to be a jerk about it.
Sure.
Right? Like they could say, man, I really don't agree with that belief, but then they could still be impressed with how I treat them with respect and dignity.
Well, and I think that's a problem we have in this country in general, and maybe worldwide, is that there's no sitting down and having a conversation where you can say, okay, look, Anthony comes in and he believes in I don't know, pick a wacky topic that people care about. He's pro-life and I'm pro-choice, and there's no opportunity to sit down and talk about it and go, oh, well, he's not a dickhead. He just has a different opinion than I do. And, oh, maybe I can think about that opinion and maybe it'll change my mind on something. There's no room for that anymore because everything is behind this computer screen or behind this phone, and we're just spouting off things at each other and waiting for that person to stop typing so we can type something back.
Yeah, there's so many problems. We speak, in order to be heard, and then we listen only to reply, not to actually understand people. We just want our voice to be heard because it's comfortable,
And you're sitting there waiting for the person to shut up so you can say your point.
You've already formulated. They're typing the first sentence. You already know what your reply is going to be. You're not sitting there listening to actually understand them. You already know what it's going to be. But then also, too, you have the problem of people are, typically too harsh and just go right after the personal character attacks too quickly. But then we're on a really soft society where everybody takes everything hyper personally.
Yeah.
Like if you disagree with me, you must not like me as a person, and being liked, even if it's superficial, is valuable above all else in this world. You know, hence people get their inspiration and their sense of meaning and validation in life from Instagram or Facebook likes and stuff like that. And so I think that's two parts. Like, people can be too harsh and go right down the road of character assassination, but then you also have people over here who can never be disagreed with, or it's this personal attack on them. And it's like, man, I mean, you saw this with the whole Ellen DeGeneres and George Bush thing. People were losing their minds over that.
Yeah.
And it's like, so she's a liberal, he's a conservative, they both enjoy baseball, and they can be friends. That's called rational human interaction.
Well, and the thing about
Right?
Bush was, I know, Bush had so many issues and so many problems, and so many people disliked his politics. And what I always got off Bush, though, was he seemed like a nice guy. He
Right.
just seemed like a friendly human being who.
Just a down to earth.
And that was the thing. I had a lot of issues. Well, I had a lot of issues with pretty much every president for years and years and years. But I had a lot of issues with Obama too. But I could see sitting down and having a beer with Obama.
Right,
He just
right.
seemed like a nice human being, and he
Right.
wasn't going to. He never embarrassed me as far as going out and saying some huge guffaw like Trump does, or like every candidate who's now running for president does. I mean, everyone on the Democratic side of that ticket just seems like a gaffe machine. And
Except Tulsi Gabbard. And
I
then,
like Tulsi.
And then they run her into the ground.
I know.
I disagree with Tulsi so much, but I like her.
I like her.
Respect her.
Yeah.
Put it that way. Like, I disagree with so much of what she says, but I respect her. And I also respect the fact that she served, because we haven't had a president that's actually served in the armed
and I don't think it should be legal to be president unless
Personally,
you
I think
served.
so too. Like, I can take her more seriously on foreign policy, and what she says about our military, knowing that she's been there, done that.
Yeah.
And is not just a guy behind a desk.
What don't you agree with that she says? I'm not super familiar with
Yeah,
everybody's.
I don't know her entire platform. You brought up the whole like pro-choice, pro-life thing. I mean, I tend to be I'm very pro-life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've sat down with people who aren't, and it's interesting because there's a spectrum. My wife and I were talking about this the other night. I've got a couple friends who, and the whole reason that I understand their position now is because, again, we're friends and we sat down. So I think that's where having relationships with people is really important.
Yeah,
Because we
yeah.
have commonalities outside of. So one of my really good friends in strongman, like we're really tight. We cheer each other on. He and I disagree pretty heatedly on this issue. We sat down, we talked about it one time, and he explained his position from start to back, and I explained mine. And we both realized at the end of the day, we land in two different spots, but it comes from the same heart and the same desire. What we want, kind of the same things. So I think it's important, even though I disagree with him, he disagrees with me. We have a friendship and a whatever else. She tends to be, I personally think it was wise to pull out of Syria. That's a whole other issue. She wants to keep our troops in there. Nothing that's major, though, with her.
Yeah.
I don't know her entire platform. I listened to her, I think, like 2 town hall addresses and her interview with Rogan. I also, one of the things that I like, too, currently is I think Trump says a lot of stupid things. Like, he gets himself in trouble.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to get himself in
Yeah.
trouble. Because I think he's done some good things, too. And it's like, hey, just stop talking. Like, this was a good thing you did, and then you got on Twitter, and you made it way worse. So just stop doing that, and things are going to be better for you. And she's not a Trump fan, but she's not there's this group of people that they now exist to see him destroyed, and it makes them irrational and crazy. And so she can look objectively, and she said, no, I like that he's done this, this, and this. I agree with that. I disagree with X, Y. She just seems very rational and poised and composed. She's honestly just way too moderate for the left. That's why they're attacking her. She's entirely too moderate. Which is ironic, because I think he's going to destroy people in 2020. I think he's going to rip the left apart. I think she's the only rational person who could actually beat him.
I don't think anyone can stand up on a debate stage with him, and it's that seemingly sounds crazy because he doesn't seem like he's that smart or articulate. He's just so aggressive and so mean-spirited and so Teflon that he could say anything about them. And
what's interesting is I went to one of the girls I went to high school with went and got her PhD in. Well, she got a law degree and then something else, and she had an opportunity to work in the White House and has worked with him on numerous things, and he's actually, I think he's ridiculously intelligent. She said it's all a show. Like literally, like he has mastered the American people. I have heard from so many people that know him that he is jovial, kind-hearted, and caring, like a giant Santa Claus grandpa kind of figure. And that literally when somebody walks in the room, it's like they just said action, and he just goes into character mode. And with somebody, a really famous, what do you call those folks who, it's not a linguist, but it's somebody who understands patterns of speech and reviews speeches and things like that. Somebody reviewed his speech patterns, and a lot of great leaders do this. Leaders of the past, Hitler did it, which is not a great thing. Stalin did it. Even leaders in our past, Lincoln, I think to a degree, he appealed to the masses, and one of the things he did is Trump will never say a word with longer than 3 syllables. He'll trail off. Even if the word has more than 3 syllables, he trails off and drops off because it loses people.
Wow.
And so you have to be hyper intelligent to comb through a speech, and as you're speaking, know in that moment that this word's getting too long and cut it off. I think if anything, it's a giant show. I think he's hyper intelligent. He has mastered media. He's, people like to say, oh, he's dumb. Look at all, he went bankrupt so many times. No, that guy knows the tax system and all the loopholes. Everything he's ever done is to his advantage. Yeah. Whether you think he's ethically or morally right and wrong, that's a different question. But when he filed bankruptcy, he knew exactly what he was doing on those businesses. He's a smart man and knows how to play the system.
Sure.
And so I think he knows how to play people too.
When he first started running, and I believe you 100%. I feel the same way. I was having a conversation with a friend of my wife who is a gay guy, and I said, "Look," you probably don't remember this, but I remember back in the early 90s, him on the Howard Stern show, and he was a New York liberal. He was pro-gay marriage, he was pro-gay rights, he was pro-choice, he was all these things, but he was smart enough to go, this is my personal opinion, that when it was time to run for president, they saw this huge backlash from 8 years of Obama, which you kind of get with any American presidency. 8 years is a long time to deal with somebody. You had this huge backlash, and he just said, well, I'll just appeal to these, quote-unquote rubes, and they'll love me for it. And as long as
he got the American Rust Belt.
It's exactly what he did.
He hit the Rust Belt.
Yeah.
Well, because, too, I think one of the things that Obama did, this will probably offend some people. I don't mean to be. I think, there's always racism in this country, and it's sad and it's disgusting. Mm-hmm. I think it's just absolutely filthy. And it needs to be talked about. That said, I think there was so much, I think a lot of the folks in the Rust Belt, go to Eastern Kentucky, and you're going to see, people want to talk about the poor inner city. Well, go look at the coal mining hollers. And
the John Prine country, right?
Oh, man. You go there, and you're going to see, just as you're going to see meth problems, you're going to see homelessness, and you're going to see, fatherless homes on the same scale as you're going to see in the inner city. And I think all of this focus here, making it about race and pitting white people against black people, I think Trump appealed to a lot of the down and out poor white people and said, whoa, I have a bad lot in life too.
Sure, yeah.
My dad and my grandpa were in prison. My mom deals meth, and she's addicted to Oxycontin and everything else like this. And we don't have jobs where we live. And you're saying that I should feel guilty because of the color of my skin?
Yeah.
And then you got this guy out there who started rallying those people because those people showed up out of nowhere to vote like they never have before.
Just like the downtrodden black voters showed up for Obama. All of a sudden they were mobilizing, and getting out there. It worries me, in effect, that now it's just become a popularity contest and a swing back and forth. The only thing that gives me some hope is the fact that my life doesn't seem to change on a personal level. I made money during the Obama administration. I'm making money during the Trump administration, and both times I was told that I was screwed.
Exactly.
So I don't know how much. Yeah. I don't know how much. Now I will say that my taxes this year were significantly better under the new Trump, and I don't know anything about his tax program, or I don't know anything about it.
To be honest, it's going to incentivize small business. It's going to give back. I have 3 kids, and the child tax credit got doubled.
Yeah. Oh wow.
It's
Yeah.
a big deal.
That's huge.
$1,000
Yeah.
a kid to $2,000 a kid.
Yeah.
Right. Now, what he did take away was you can't write off student loan interest anymore. But I'll trade that for the 3 kids I have.
Absolutely. It's a nice
people
chunk.
say, oh, that doesn't fair. I mean, he's incentivizing the nuclear family.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he's doing, and small business, which people would argue are traditional conservative values, right?
Well, and I think one of the major problems we have as a society, and this comes from working 19 years in a juvenile, well, part of that time the juvenile correctional facility, part in the adult, but the majority of the problems we have as a society is the fact that we don't have fathers involved in the lives of their children. And if something's going to work to incentivize a father to stay, I don't know. I'm not with my ex-wife anymore, but we both have a very strong hand in raising our son. Mm-hmm. Obviously, $2,000 wasn't going to get me to stay, but right. Anything that helps, I'm for. You have to find a way for fathers to be involved in sons' lives, and I think the problem in America is not toxic masculinity so much as no masculinity and no masculine role models.
No role models.
No role models.
I would argue the drug war has a big, part to play in that as well. I mean, seeing guys locked away for marijuana and drug possession. I mean, these ridiculous celebrities in Hollywood that can be convicted of, molesting half a dozen women.
Yeah.
And after it's all said and done, they're out in 6 years. But, but you take some dude who has a possession charge and he's locked away for how long and completely out of his kids' lives. And it's unreal. I mean, it's just... Well, and so many of these for-profit private prisons, operate on a P&L that demands like 98% occupancy. That's tough. A problem, because now you have people trying to hit quotas. Mm-hmm. And they're like, they're going to look for and try and stereotype and try and get people and find people with, a baggie of weed on them. And it's like, it's just unreal to me,
Yeah,
that's there needs to be some serious reform in that regard.
That's deplorable, the privatization of prison systems. It just... There's no way that doesn't lead to problems in the future. And I watched it coming as a corrections officer.
Because you've literally turned punishment into a for-profit enterprise.
Yeah. How could that not be problematic?
Which means you have to grow it. If you want to grow a business and you're a business person, and literally your business is filling the beds with prisoners.
It's not good for the COs either, because the COs are going to now, instead of having... the benefits of... So the one thing, the deal they make with you as any kind of law enforcement officer when you start is, hey, you're not going to make a whole hell of a lot of money, but you're going to be taken care of. You're going to have a nice pension, you're going to have great health care, yada, yada, yada. And then they're going to change that deal once you're 15 years into your career because they've privatized your facility, and now all of a sudden... You're not getting great money, and you're not going to be taken care of the way they said that you were taken care of. I think it's short-sighted for the COs to support it as well.
Yeah, that's tough. It's not a good situation. There definitely needs to be some criminal justice reform, and I think drug reform too, big time.
Are you for legalization?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so am I.
I'm kind of a radical person on this. I'm for legalization of everything.
I am too.
Absolutely everything. Yep. And people say, what in the world is your problem? Don't you want the drug problem to go away? Well, yes, but has what we've been doing working? Absolutely not. Since Johnson or Nixon, absolutely not.
Well, I think first of all, you get rid of the fentanyl deaths, because now it just like in the in Prohibition times when they were making their own homemade whiskey and killing people every once in a while. You're not going to get that as much as, I'm going to go to Walgreens, I'm going to get a bag of methamphetamines or whatever, get a bag of heroin, and it's going to be safe.
What's actually killing relatively people is prescription.
Yeah.
Prescription addiction. That's actually killing people. Do I think it's wise for someone to be doing LSD all the time? No, but they tried to kill an elephant with LSD and it didn't work.
Yeah.
I was listening to Rogan about that. He's like, I just want to know what that elephant saw.
You're right. Well, there's a Jimmy Buffett song where he says that he was an acid rocker, and he said, where are the flashbacks they all warned us would come? It just never happened.
Well, I don't know if you heard about, there's a book out, and I wish I knew the name of it right now. This guy did a study, I believe it was in Sweden, and I know they did this in Spain, but they did an experiment and they legalized everything, absolutely everything. They went above and beyond that, is they built special clinics for heroin addicts, and were like, hey, You need your fix. That's fine, but you have to come here and get it. It's going to be pure, first off, and people don't realize this. They still give, the idea that drugs just are automatically addictive and they're hooked into the brain. That's completely false. Anybody that gets a hip replacement gets actual, real, pure heroin. And they prescribe that for their pain, and then they come off. And you don't see any grannies hitting the streets trying to get their fix to come off the heroin. No, it's for the pain, and it has an actual purpose. But what they found was these people would come in, and nurses would give them literally whatever dose they wanted. But they had TVs in there, they had pool tables, they had ping pong tables, like snacks, and people are coming in. What they watched happen immediately was crime just went way down, because who's going to go mess with drug dealers when you can literally go get it for free? And it's pure, so you don't have the fentanyl and everything else come in. And so they go in there and they're getting whatever doses they want. And over time, these people are requesting less and less of a dose because they don't need it. What they discovered, it was built on the premise that the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it's community. So everyone cites the study from the 60s that they did where they put a rat in a little cage and they put heroin-filled water and then water, and the rat drank itself to death with the heroin. Okay, then somebody came along later and said, yeah, but you didn't do the study correctly. They built a massive enclosure with all the sorts of things that rats would like, including other female rats and everything else, and put a bowl of heroin-laced water and then a bowl of regular water. All the rats drank the heroin, got super sick, pushed it to the outside of their enclosure and enclosed it off, and all lived a healthy, happy life. And so when you isolated that rat, of course it wanted to die, because even creatures crave community. That's why solitary confinement is sometimes considered cruel and unusual, because humans were made for connection. And so these people are coming down to this clinic and they're starting to need less and less of a dose of this stuff. And they're finding real meaningful relationships to the point where people were coming just to hang out, play ping pong with their friends. Then they started bringing in people to help them clean their life up and go learn how to interview, go get a job, do these sorts of things. So crime dropped. Heroin's perfectly legal, but crime is
nobody wants it.
Nobody wants it, and nobody needs it. And I think clearly what we've been doing is not working. It's ripping fathers out of homes over weed that has never killed anybody, but yet we have thousands upon thousands of alcohol deaths every year. Nobody, the loudest voices in Congress that want to argue against weed are having whiskey every night. I drink bourbon. I love that occasionally, but nobody's protesting that.
We've had people in here before who were alcoholics, and they were obviously, that was their biggest thing in life, was just to get more booze. And when they come in here, it switches, and now all of a sudden they're quote unquote addicted to fitness. And I don't think they're addicted to fitness. Like you said, I think they're addicted to the family, to the community, 100%. To something that they could put their energies into, other than, I just worked a 12-hour shift. Now I'm going to go home. What am I going to do? I'm just going to drink and watch TV until I fall asleep. It's giving them something other than the booze to focus on. And it's such an easy fix, and there's nothing wrong with it. If you're going to be quote unquote addicted to something, make it something. I'm addicted to jiu-jitsu. I'm addicted to working out. My wife thinks I'm insane, but it's like, I have a personality. I've never been a guy who had a problem with any kind of substance, but I definitely have things where when I get involved with something, I get involved with it 100%.
I have to limit my hobbies. Right? I'm big into hunting as well, which is really conflicting right now.
That's why I'm afraid of getting into hunting.
Right, because the rut is coming up in the next 2 weeks. It's going to be worthless. So I got college football and the NFL, strongman, and hunting. And they all like to converge in the fall. And so, I'm a husband and father. Like, I need to, something's got to go. Or give, or take the back burner. So, it gets tough. But
I want to hunt, and that's one of the things I know. I was talking to a friend of mine.
Especially don't get into archery then.
Well, see, that's okay. See, that's the thing, is he's a bow hunter. And this guy goes out and doesn't fucking touch his bow until the rut. And then he goes out and shoots it, and he's like, you don't need to practice that much. I'm like, look, I am a super very sensitive man. I'm not going to go out and accidentally fuck up and injure an animal. That would kill me. I think
that's a irresponsible person. I think you should be practicing.
I'd be like Cam Haynes. I'd be shooting bows out of my kitchen into the backyard.
And Joe Rogan, they have a really good approach to it. And it's funny because I think they actually have a lot in common with vegans who protest against animal cruelty. Like, I as well am very much against like factory farming and, you know, just the way that some of these animals are just raised in cages, never seeing the sunlight, pumped full of antibiotics. That's just not how creatures are made. That's not cool. There is something unique then about going out and getting it yourself in the wild. You know where your food comes from, but you also owe that animal a quick death. I mean, last year, the first day of hunting season, I won't hunt this early anymore, but Kentucky opens September 1st, and in Kentucky it's still 90 degrees.
Yeah, right.
And I went out the first day last year, and I mean, I'm not super fantastic with the bow, but I'm pretty good. And I had a doe at 30 yards, and I never missed to the right. And I let this arrow fly, and the arrow went to the right and gut shot her. I never recovered that animal. I know she died.
Yeah.
I followed the blood trail forever. I didn't go back the next day because it was 80 degrees overnight. I'm like, if I don't get this animal in the next couple hours, it's spoiled.
It's ruined, yeah.
But it killed me because, well, then to come to find out, one of the serving strings in the cam had busted and probably threw it off. So I ended up getting replacing the strings and all that. But the point was, like, that killed me not to recover that animal. And I know that, you know, coyotes or something ate well, and I know it died.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you're going to go out there and hunt, you owe that animal a quick death. I mean, nobody should be out in the woods just firing off stuff.
Yeah.
But if you get into hunting, it's one thing to get into rifle hunting because there's way less of a learning curve. It's still fun.
Yeah.
If you get into archery, there are so many nuances. Like so many of my friends I know are getting into jiu-jitsu, and there's two reasons I haven't yet. One, I know I will get addicted to it. And two, I just can't afford any, with my goals in strongman right now, I can't afford any wrist sprains or elbow sprains or shoulder issues or things like that. Eventually I will do it though.
It's super addictive, and the way I got started was I had Paul Jordan on here on the podcast, and we became friends. And you know, I was asking him questions about, you know, different grapplers and stuff because I was interested in their weightlifting training. And he said, "Why don't you just come out and do this?" And I was like, "All right." So I went out and did a class, and it was a 7 p.m. class. He wanted me to go to his class at 7 a.m., which is he could make sure I didn't get killed. Well, I knew who I was, so that didn't start until next Tuesday, and it was Wednesday. And I said, no, I'm going to come tomorrow,
right? Otherwise,
because I won't do it. So I went in and just got fucking manhandled. I mean, these bitches were fucking me up. I mean, I came out of there bloody mouth and just it was horrible. And then I said, fuck it, I'm going back at 7 a.m.
I want to get.
And I did another one, and it was like, for me, it was like. I had been a corrections officer for 19 years and literally had been in hundreds of altercations. I was on the ERU team, you know, like basically the prison SWAT team.
Right.
So I was in all these fights, and then I realized, holy fuck, I don't know how to fight. I've been in hundreds of fights and always came out on top, and I have no idea how to fight because that 160-pound dude just choked the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Effortlessly.
My brother-in-law, he just got medically retired from the Army this past year. Now he's over in Germany working as kind of like a contractor for the government, teaching communications and stuff to special forces. But he grew up in Hawaii and wrestled, did jiu-jitsu for the last 30 years. I don't know. He's a black belt for sure. I know that. I mean, he constantly was going at it. He and I would scrap a little bit, and he would just mess with me until he decided it was time for me to tell him.
Yeah.
Well, I remember my niece comes up to me, and she's 7. This is like 2 years ago at Christmas, and she goes, "Hey," and I'm going to give myself away here on the air. They couldn't say my name right when I was a kid, so instead of Anthony, it was Nini, Uncle Nini.
Okay.
From Hawaii, so it almost sounds Hawaiian.
I thought your last name. I'm like, that doesn't seem like it would be that big of a problem.
So it's they call me Uncle Dini, and she comes up to me and she says, "Uncle Dini, I want to show you what I learned." And she comes up behind me, and I just hear my sister-in-law Jennifer go, "Now when he taps out, you need to let go." And she comes up behind me and gets me in a headlock, but then, I mean, she just cranks down.
Yeah.
She got it, so I could not turn. It was amazing, you know, for a little 7-year-old.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap. And then I just stood up and, like, flung her over the couch, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm larger than she is. But I'm sitting here thinking, like, man, you know, sure, I've got a lot of weight on a 7-year-old, but if that person was 160, 170 pounds, I'd be tapped.
I try to...
strength is only so beneficial.
Yeah. And they fuck with me all the time, which is funny to me because... So, like, when I go to the evening classes, the black belt, Ulrich, who's a great guy, will fuck with me about lifting weights and stuff. And for me, it's fun because I came up with Kerry Overfelt and Craig Smith. You're never going to get into my head. I'm impenetrable. But, you know, they're fucking with me about being a lifter and stuff, and I just laugh, and it's funny for them, and I think it's a good time for them because I walk in, especially when I walked in before, because I started at 260 pounds, and these guys are just throwing me around and jacking me around. It's so easy for them, and I'm learning now, so it's fun. And I tell you what, it's weird, man, because I was super confident before because I'd been in all those confrontations, but then there was a couple month period where I was like, I am super fucking vulnerable.
Right.
And now it's like I walk into places and I go, that guy's wearing a hooded sweatshirt or he's got a tie on. I'll fucking kill him. I don't care how big he is. And I'm a 2-stripe white belt. There's nothing, but I really encourage, especially parents, to get their young girls, especially into this because, so there's one girl, we have a couple girls in our class who are very, very tiny people. And, when you roll with them or when the instructor rolls with them, it's not like he's trying to put jiu-jitsu moves on them. He's like trying to choke them with, like they would get choked in a bar, and they have to figure out, which is what they're going to run into. Or they're going to run into some crazy bitch who grabs them by the hair and starts throwing punches at them. They've got to learn that kind of jiu-jitsu. And it's fun to watch. It's super fun to watch other people progress as well. And it's really renewed my passion for athletics because when I got out of Highland Games, I got into strongman, and it wasn't although it was fun, I could never get the competitive juices going because I didn't care. It was I would go and fuck around, and like last strongman competition I did with Sean Shoemaker's one last year, Ohio's Strongest Man. And I'm just fucking around, They're yelling at me because I wasn't going fast enough in the log press. I'm like, look, motherfuckers, this is as fast as I'm going, and they're just like, this guy doesn't even give a shit, but I was just having a good time. Right. Jiu-jitsu, I don't know if I'll ever compete because I think I just enjoy the training. Right. I'm not sure competing even appeals to me anymore. I
definitely want to try it at some point. I'm a competitive person. I always have to have goals.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. When I was in college, I was pretty big. I got pretty heavy, and I decided to lose weight, and I lost like 90 pounds in like 8 months just by running.
Yeah.
And I was a stick. I mean, I was tiny, and a friend of mine got me into lifting. And I started lifting, and that was fun, but I still, when we first got married, I ran all the time. Like, when we first got married, I was like 175 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, and I just ran all the time. I did Tough Mudders because I kind of sort of got into CrossFit-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And that style of training, and did Spartan races, all that sort of stuff. And it was actually the last Tough Mudder that I did that I decided I just wanted to be big and strong because it was miserable. It was in Maysville, Kentucky in October. It was like 40 degrees. Ooh. And it was a 13-mile course. And I did it with a buddy of mine who is about 160 pounds soaking wet. Now, he's a former Army Ranger, so he had the grit and the mentality, but even he was whipped by the end of it. Especially the buddy carry when he had to put me on his back. And I was still a lot lighter then, but still. It was just so miserable. I remember getting to the end of that, and the EMTs hand everybody a Cliff Bar and a Dos Equis and a warm blanket. And I was like, so you can take dehydrated, hypothermic people and give everybody a beer at the finish line.
Jesus Christ.
And then send them on their way home, like, be safe. It was miserable. And I just remember that day being like, you know what, screw this. I want to get big and strong.
Yeah.
And then what was the real tipping point into strongman for me was I had a buddy of mine in the gym was just like, hey man, we're doing these farmer's carries out back. I'm like, what is a farmer's carry? This is 2014. I'm like, what is that? And I go out there, and this kid's like 130 pounds soaking wet, and he was pretty good. He was a trainer there, and he picked up 225 per hand and ran with it. And I thought,
that's solid.
I'm going to dust this kid. And I could barely shuffle my feet with it.
Yeah.
And then the very next weekend, we were supposed to go to the beach with my in-laws. And at this point, I wasn't that great of a lifter, but I had a 300-pound bench, which back then,
Still, that's probably 99% of the population. Right. Still can't do.
Had a 300-pound bench, probably had a 250 squat,
yeah.
And 400 and change deadlift. And I remember the day before we left for the beach, my father-in-law, he's a mechanic and has a landscaping business, a lot of property, we hunt and stuff. And I was helping him do some work around the property. We were taking the standards off of the side of this truck that he had. And I just remember struggling so much. It's like I could destroy him in a gym, but we were moving natural stone around. Mm-hmm. He's a landscaper. We're taking the standards off the truck. And I just remember being physically destroyed.
Yeah.
After like 2 hours, and he's barely breaking a sweat. And I just realized that strongman was really practical and functional.
Yeah.
And so that made me want to do it more. And then I competed my first time. I'm like, oh man, this is it. I love this stuff.
what my focus now is with strongman is working with athletes, working with tactical athletes, and getting people in shape using the strongman equipment. So, like, I'm giving a talk in Ashland in December on my thoughts on using strongman to build athletes, both tactical and high school, college, because I don't think it's done enough, and I think it's such an easy thing to teach athletes. I think you get some huge benefits out of it. One of the things I always say about, like, say, tire flips is if you do heavy tire flips and you can't figure out how a heavy tire flip will relate to playing, say, offensive line in football, it means you've never done a heavy tire flip or you've never played offensive line.
Right. Push through. Don't
Yes.
curl up. Push through.
And every part of your body is working.
Get as low as you can
Yes.
in that thing, as much body
Drive.
as possible, and drive forward.
And keep your feet moving,
Yes.
and
Let physics do the work. Let that
And
tire dig in and flip.
if you can take an Atlas stone to shoulder, you can't tell me taking a heavy Atlas stone to shoulder is any different than doing a heavy power clean.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the same movement.
I mean, your hips have to fire so explosively.
Yep.
And then there's such timing involved.
Yep.
I was struggling this last nationals. What I was actually struggling with was the timing. I viper a lot of my log presses.
Mm-hmm.
I just like doing it that way. My thought is my hips are way stronger than my shoulders.
Yep.
So, I could lock it out. But, like, the stone, I would start and I would throw it and either would go right over my shoulder. Like, I couldn't catch it in time. Like, it would just roll right up and over. Or getting that timing down to where I, sometimes it would come up here and then I had to, like, manhandle
Yeah,
the rest
right,
of the way.
right.
So it was a big timing thing. It was very athletic.
Yeah.
A lot of skill there in that.
Well, my best ever clean when I was throwing in Highland Games was 350. And that was at 315 pounds. My best ever stone to shoulder was 330 at 250 pounds.
Yeah.
And I was able to explode that stone so much harder and faster because I didn't have to worry about catching it on my shoulders. I mean, it was always the deciding factor is could I catch a bar on my chest?
Right.
And the other thing is I can take an athlete off the street and teach him to do a stone to shoulder in 30 seconds, maybe a minute. It could take me 30 years to get them to look good in the clean.
Yeah.
And maybe not ever, because I'll never look good in the clean. So it's I think it's so fascinating to me. I think it's fantastic for grapplers. I think
for
it's
correctional officers, like you said,
anything like that. Yeah.
Stone to shoulder is such an awkward movement. A lot of these things are. So if you're in a fight or an altercation, you got to throw somebody around. I mean,
the log is great because it's a more functional clean to me. It's something the way you pull it from your waist to your shoulders is much more applicable to other things you do in life. And the other thing is I can shoulder press a log all day, but again, I can't get that rack position with a bar. And I don't know about how many guys. I saw Kelly Starrett one time pressing a log, and that was the reason why he pressed the log. He said, "How many 40-year-old guys do you know that have a rack position?"
Right.
Not very many who've ever lifted weights for a long period of time. So I have to put this program together, and thank God I've got some young kids helping me that can do like PowerPoint and stuff because I don't have any idea. But it should be it's pretty intimidating to be in this cast of characters speaking at Ashland. It's December 13th and 14th. Derek Woodsky, Adrian Smith, Ryan Fanley. There's Jance Footit, and there's one more guy I can't mention who's really high level, but he hasn't fully confirmed yet. So hopefully by the time this comes out, I will. Yeah, it's going to be a good seminar. And then me. I'm going to get up there and say, I don't know. This is just kind of my opinion on shit. I don't have any scientific studies.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with them. That's where I'm at.
Experience rules, though.
Yeah, it's been 30-some years, 35 years.
There are some, like, biomechanical absolutes, but apart from that, people hate it. Because I get clients will ask me questions all the time, and my answer is always like, well, it depends.
Yeah.
Because context determines everything.
Yeah.
I can't just blanket statement say you should do X because I don't know. There could be so many other factors with where you're at as an athlete or injuries you may be working around or structurally how you're built. I mean, personally, like if you're not powerlifting, if you're not doing strongman, I don't have most of my athletes using a regular bar for a deadlift, doing a conventional deadlift. Most of them are doing a trap bar.
Trap bar, yeah.
Absolutely. Just a risk-reward ratio. But I'm not going to go full Oberst and say you shouldn't deadlift because Yeah, if you're good in that sport, you should get really good at deadlift because you have to do it a lot.
I don't know how much he actually thought about that statement before he made it. I think he was so excited to be on that show and made a statement that blew up. And I was thinking to myself, like, who the fuck cares? If Robert Obrist doesn't want to do deadlifts, who the fuck cares? You know?
Well, I think it's
where's this deadlift lobby coming from?
Well, I think it's simply because it's like he doesn't have the authority to speak on it simply because he has a terrible deadlift.
Does he? I don't even know.
That's the whole point. He zeros every deadlift in a competition. He has never pulled 800 in a comp. And
that's not good for heavyweight strongman.
Not at that world level.
Yeah, no.
Not at that
That's
world
200
level.
pounds less than what the top guys are doing.
If you're Thor, if you're Brian Shaw, and you say, hey, there's a lot of, or Jerry Pritchett, who has torn his hamstring like a million times, chasing, these big lifts, and he's like, for my average everyday athletes, the risk reward really isn't there. But I'm a strongman athlete, and so I'm going to get really good at it because it's what we do.
Yeah.
That's a different thing, but for somebody to be like, oh, you shouldn't do this. Well, yeah, you don't like it because you're not good at it. Like,
see, that's a different story. Yep.
The studies show that a trap bar. I train a lot of high school athletes and stuff too, and trap bar deadlifts have a really high correlation to vertical jumping.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, there's so much less of a learning curve with the trap bar deadlift.
Yeah, and that's one of my big things. So I'm training 100 people, not in a day usually, but 100 plus athletes in this gym. And what's funny is some of these like CrossFit gyms or whatever talk about how, fantastic all their techniques are in the gym and how their people never get injured or anything. It's all fucking horseshit.
Yeah.
First of all, I guarantee if I walk into your gym, you're going to have technical problems with your people. Some of them aren't going to look good in the squat. Some are going to round their back in the deadlift. It's a lot easier to make sure with the strongman events that they're doing things safely because you were just out there talking to Colleen, who's one of the swim coaches at a local high school, and she said, well, what do you think about tire flips for them? I said, they can't hurt themselves. I would rather see them doing tire flips than deadlifts and squats because these are super untrained, never touched a weight before in their life, and you're going to have unqualified people teaching them how to squat and deadlift. I would rather have one of my guys in and show them in 30 seconds how to do a tire flip, and then they're fine for the rest of their lives. They're never going to hurt themselves doing that unless it's a fluke,
Yeah, the only thing with tire flips is if you do it on an unstable surface like dirt, you get a lot of bicep tears.
Yeah.
But that comes from people trying to save the lift.
Yes.
Because they'll be driving through it and they'll start to skid, and so the second there's any air underneath there, they grab really fast and they're trying to dude, this is an 800, 900 pound tire. You're not going to curl it. What are you doing?
That's one of the things being older is I've gotten really good at is bailing. Well, that's not right. I'm out. I'm not going to try to save that shit,
Yeah.
And I do that in jiu-jitsu. They'll get me to a place and I know where I'm going. I'm like, tap. They're like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I knew where I was going. I'm done.
Right. I'm not getting armbarred, man. That's not gonna
I know you've got me. There's no need to go to full extension with that motherfucker. I'm good. There's no ego here, dude.
Yes. I'm humble enough to tap.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
But you've had, we were talking about body weight and everything. You've had a big transformation this year.
Yeah, well, probably over the last 2 years.
Did you drop from super down to 105?
No, I was just fat. I was just a fat 105. I mean, no, I've literally been doing the longest recomp in history, basically.
Yeah.
Because when I decided to get, big and do strongman after doing, Tough Mudders and things like that. I mean, remember, I was starting at 170, 180, so I did the whole, read some bro science on the internet, eat everything in sight, which was way too high in fats and carbs, and get really strong. And I got stronger, but also got really fat. Mm-hmm. That limited me. Strongmen don't need to be walking around at 7% body fat. You need some fat to lubricate the joints, but you also don't have to be a fat ass.
Right. I'm 100% behind you.
Adipose tissue is not helpful.
Yeah.
It's a waste. So, to a great degree. And so I've just been going on this huge, basically this recomp of continuing to try and just stay around the 105K mark. So I've been about 240s, 250s for the last 2 years.
You're just recompositioning your body.
I go through periods where, even right now, I'm doing my best to drive my calories up as high as I can without making the scale jump, which is great because I think, right now, I'm at about 3,500 calories a day, which isn't that much.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to push it as high as I can, and I'm actually at 247 this morning, so that's good. I'm gonna try and push it as far as I can because we'll start comp prep for the Arnold here like mid-December, and if I can start at a higher place, that gives me, when I start my cut, as I work my way back to 231, it gives me substantive fuel to start from. Whereas if I'm just chilling right now and keeping my calories around 3,200, well, you know, if I go to pool 500 to 700 calories, all of a sudden I'm really restricted as the training gets more heavy and more intense. So I will gain a little fat, I understand that, but I do it mostly through whole clean foods as much as possible. I mean, I still enjoy life. Ice cream is my weakness. But it's just rice, potatoes, loads of meat. I like a lot of fermented foods for gut health.
Yeah, like kimchi and shit like that.
Kimchi and sauerkraut, and kombucha and things like that.
I can't do the kombucha.
I try to limit the. I talk to some people like, I view food as medicine. Mm-hmm. So some of the things I hate carrots, but I'll eat them kind of medicinally. I hate kombucha, but I'll do it because I know it's good for me. It's going to help my performance.
I'll do the other ones. Kombucha, I can't get it down.
I love beer and whiskey, but I don't drink at all during training cycles. I just won't. Just anything to reduce stress on the liver, just stress on internal organs, because training is providing enough stress stimulus. So those are some things I'll do. So I'm kind of enjoying it right now, a little bit in the off season, just doing some bodybuilder-ish training a couple days a week.
Well, it's the good thing about strongman nowadays is you have weight classes. And one of my things I've always stressed is you do not need to be 400 pounds because Thor is 400 pounds.
Right.
Especially when you're 6 feet tall.
Right. Thor is also 6'8".
Yeah. So. And I think strongman and powerlifting both.
Rob Kearney is a good example. 5'10".
Right.
Competes at World's Strongest Man, 280 pounds.
Yeah. And he would be considered a wee lad, as the Scots would call him.
Yeah, he's a tiny dude, but he holds his own.
Yeah.
Even Martin Lisi is he's heavy, but he's only 6'1".
Yeah. It's powerlifting and strongman gives the opportunity for fat guys who are a little bit lazy when it comes to their diet a chance to say, I'm not fat, I'm a strongman. And you still you're always going to get beat. You're always going to get beat by the guys that are in better shape because that's just the way training works.
Strongman's moving away from, for example, Brian Shaw hasn't performed terribly great in the last several competitions.
I think it's because of the kids.
Yes, and he's also older than a lot of these guys now.
Yeah, he's been around a long time.
Yeah, you did see it. He has kids now, and being a father is his first priority, and good for him. I knew when I started strongman that I wanted to get my pro card, and some people can go ahead and get it in a year or two. I knew it was going to take me a longer time. Yeah. Just because.
Do you have it now?
I just got it from Nationals 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
And so.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what helped me get it. That's what allowed me to compete at ASM, which was a lot of fun. Just did that 2 weeks later.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So the only thing that was brutal about that was having to turn around and do another cut again.
Right.
But that was a blast. So, but I knew it was going to take me a long time, just because I couldn't dedicate as much time. I mean, I wanted to be the absolute best I could be, within a window of time. I watched the West Side versus the World documentary, and some people extol the glories of sacrificing everything and selling out everything to be this great thing. But I watched that guy on there weeping because he hadn't been to any of his kids' games, pretty much missed their entire childhood because Wednesday night was bench night. I'm like, right. To me, I don't think you're cool for that. You don't get bonus points in my mind. Your primary, as a husband, that's number one. As a father, husband and father come first. Now I'm dedicated to this sport and I love it and I'm totally addicted to it. But I get to do that inside of the window that whatever time is left over.
Yeah.
My family doesn't get the scraps, which sometimes they have. I've been guilty of that, of giving them the scraps of what's left.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's why I train mostly at 5 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
The kids are asleep, and then when I come home from work, I don't have to go to the gym and then come home and have 30 minutes before I tuck my kids in bed. I just come home.
Yeah, that's why I train jiu-jitsu at 7 a.m. because when my wife and my son get home, I don't want to go out and do jiu-jitsu. I want to hang out with them.
Exactly right. And so now on the weekends, my wife is understanding, and obviously when competitions are coming up, then some things get sacrificed. But now my daughter's old enough; she's gonna be 7. I bring her with me to all my training. I started in the last 6 months. And, first off, it's just kind of building the love for her. So she sees the little weights around the house and she's trying to lift them and things like that.
Yeah.
But I've been taking her to strongman training, and she sits there with her little Amazon Fire tablet and does her little coloring books and stuff for 2.5 hours while I'm lifting logs and throwing stones. And then we go to Chick-fil-A afterwards, and she looks forward to it.
Yeah.
So I'm able to.
And she'll remember that.
Exactly. And I don't want it to be something that I isolate myself from my family over.
Yeah.
So, but it's been good. So now I'm able to start integrating that. When the boys get older, I'll bring them out too. So.
Yeah. And what are you training for next?
So the Arnold will be next. So that's in March.
Now I heard that I'm probably late to this party, but I heard that the Arnold just bought Strongman Corps.
They did. They do. Well,
is it Arnold or Rogue?
No, it's the Arnold. So Dion, who has Strongman Corporation, will still run it. I don't know the split of who owns what, but basically, she'll report to Arnold.
Yeah, right.
And so the Arnold committee has purchased Strongman Corporation. I think it's going to be fantastic for the sport.
I think it'll be fantastic for the sport. I don't think it's going to be fantastic for USS, because you're going to have now a major federation with a lot of money behind it and all the prestige.
There's pros and cons, but I think the pros will outweigh the cons. I mean, one of the cool things they're doing this year at the Arnold is, if you've seen Strongman before in the past, all the amateur section is over in one area, and then the main stage is reserved for the Thors and the Shaws. It's all one area this year. So, I mean, how cool is that?
That's
you could be
cool.
warming up for deadlift, next to Shaw.
Yeah.
Or Thor right there. So I think that's cool. It's kind of remains to be seen what this means for the sport.
Well, I think I think anytime you do that and you put that kind of money, obviously they see there's a value in it.
Right.
So,
and I mean, Rogue's starting to do CrossFit implements and things like that, or
strongman implements.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that sketches me out a little bit about Rogue is guys like Shane Rickman up in Michigan, who makes some of the prettiest heavy-duty equipment ever, because he's a motherfucking savage.
He's awesome.
And it's going to be tough to compete if Rogue starts doing the same thing. And I know when they were doing the sandbag shit with Cerberus, and they were kind of fucking with them, and
it does suck, because I think part of the allure of strongman for the longest time has been the lack of standardization.
Yeah.
It started out as a bunch of strong bodybuilders / powerlifters going, hey, my buddy's got a junkyard. And it's got this axle over there. We should see if you can pick it up and put it over your head. Or who can move this car engine faster.
Well, a lot of world's strongest man, they were going up against shit that no one had ever lifted before.
Right.
Here, lift this crab trap over your head. Oh, okay.
Okay, I'll try that out.
Yeah.
So I think part of the allure is the lack of standardization, and it's just funny because I've only been in this sport for 5 years, and even I have been able to witness, when I started doing strongman, we showed up. We didn't know if we had a 12-inch log. Did we have a? Is it a Beast Metals log? Is it a Pitbull log? Is it a Slater log? We don't know. We don't care if strongman pick it up and lift it.
Yeah.
Nowadays, if you don't release the weights and the events and the exact dimensions and specs of everything 16 weeks out, people are pitching everywhere. And then when they go to a contest and they change an event, is it disappointing if you've trained for something? Sure. Is it strongman, and does it not say in the registration fee that events and weights are subject to change?
Yeah.
There's a simple solution. Just be strong.
Wow.
The guys at World's Strongest Man still don't know the events 4 weeks out. They don't get a 3-month heads up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if they're fixing to pull a Boeing 747, they don't know that months in advance.
Yeah, and that's it. As a promoter, because I promote strongman events and hold them here at the gym, I always know, here come the questions. As soon as I put it out, I put out for Odin's Challenge.
Even if you put them in there, if you answer the questions, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I put our event page up for Odin's Challenge last week, and immediately the questions started rolling in. Well, what kind of deadlift is it? What kind of stones are we going to be lifting? What is this press medley? What are you going to do? Relax. I don't even know this shit yet. I just know those are going to be the 3 events, and whatever we decide to do, we'll test it. We always test it in here, make sure it's liftable. And if an old 210-pound man like me can lift it, I'm guessing your big heavyweight ass can lift it. Right. You'll be fine. But we've kind of gotten away, so we don't do. We're never sanctioned. We sanctioned one time and put a bad taste in my mouth, so I'll never go back. But we don't even look at it as, from our perspective, as competitions anymore. We call them gatherings. Come here, have some fun, lift some weights. Yeah, is there going to be trophies for the winners? Absolutely. But you know what? It doesn't matter. You're just coming here to fuck around. Free beer, relax, have a good time. We have vendors there who are bringing shit out, and we get Viking coffees, making up free coffee. We got a great food truck. It's just a good time. And one of the things is we for the open classes, we give you $100 if you win the open class.
They don't even do that.
That's what I'm saying. So, and the thing is, it's like our one in January, Owens Challenge, is 3 events. So, come out, fuck around, and if you win, you get $100. And if you're like Brooke Souza, who we've had on the show a million times, if you come out and win the girls event, here's $100.
Yeah, you give it up. Now I think I might do something in January as a primer for.
It's 3 events. 3 events. It's not usually that heavy. It's a training day.
Right.
And we do the deadlift outside. We surround the deadlift platform with bonfires. So even if there's a snowstorm, you get these big bonfires. It's nice and warm out there.
That's awesome. That's super cool.
Yeah, it's a gathering. It's fun. It's there's nothing serious. We're a bunch of fucking mediocre athletes lifting heavy, odd objects. It's not the Olympics, and there's no reason to stress. I think my people stress more than anything. Because they don't want to lose, and it's like, look, you're going to lose because there's going to be some really good fucking people that might come into your class,
Who cares? I mean, I don't know. I don't get intimidated by the thought of someone bigger and stronger. Because I always love it, because the worst that can happen is I can learn, but typically what ends up happening is even if I get beat, I will do better than I expected. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't have happened had they not showed up.
Drove you a little bit.
Right, exactly right. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I barely got my pro card at Nationals. I had the shittiest performance of my life. And to be honest with you, now the guy who won, Gary Piotrowski, was an absolute savage. He's a friend of mine, and he just dominated.
Yeah.
He would have taken first place regardless of what happened. But I had some dumb mistakes, some really stupid mistakes that set me back. And I barely squeaked out third place, which pro gets the top 3. And so, I'm happy that I could have a terrible performance and still, get that pro card. But then I went in and decided to do America's Strongest Man 2 weeks later. No training for any of the events.
Yeah.
With all the pros, the best 105Ks on the planet.
Yeah.
But I didn't have months to stress about it, everything else. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go have fun.
Just do it.
And I had an amazing day.
Yeah.
Set loads of PRs that I had never done before.
Yeah, you come in with low expectations, and you can't help but succeed, right?
Right. Yeah, it was a blast. So I don't know. I like competing against people better than me too. It pushes me. And again, even if I lose, I can come dead last. I bet you I'll set a PR.
Well, and that's one of the things.
Than good.
When with the grappling now is we had Kyle Cannell, who's been on the show, and he came out to. I got him to come out to one of our jiu-jitsu classes, and Kyle was a silver medalist in the 197s at NCAA Division I wrestling this year, and he's a jiu-jitsu guy. And we had done a class. Normally we drill and then we roll afterwards, and this time we had a bunch of new people in the class, so the instructor kind of lost track of time a little bit, and we didn't get a chance to roll afterwards. And I went up to Kyle afterwards and I said, "Hey, you want to roll a little bit?" And one of my training partners was like, "What are you, fucking crazy?" I'm like, "No, this guy is a monster, and I want to know what it feels like to go against somebody who's top of the food chain grappler."
Absolutely.
And it's like Laird Hamilton riding these big waves. It's like, I want to know what that feels like, So, he fucking mutilated me, but it was great I know that when I get a hold of a Division I high level wrestler, what that feels like. And it feels like wrestling with a fucking gorilla. I mean, he's just so fucking strong. It was just, that's what I wanted. It pushes you to get better. And I go to an open mat every Sunday with all these brown belts and blue belts, and they just beat the crap out of me. But then when I come back to class on Tuesday, I feel great, because I've learned something.
Right. You don't get better just by staying in the same safe spot.
Yeah.
You can't. Yeah, I tell people that all the time. People ask me well, what should I do to get better at strongman? Find people way bigger and better than you.
Yeah. Get into a training group.
Yes, absolutely.
What are those guys down at? Was it Boss down in Columbus? Like Zach Gallman's, where he trains, and Nick Rosendahl and all these guys.
Zach is an animal.
Yeah, and they just have this group of killers in there that are just throwing stones around, and
He beat me at USS Nationals this year on the log press. I got second to him.
Yeah.
Which I was happy because I don't like the Slater log, and I end up pressing a 300 log for 6, and he comes up and does 9. Looks like he had 12 in him.
Yeah.
I think he stopped because time stopped, not because he was
right.
It was a 60-second cap.
I competed not with him. He was in a different class, but he was in the Open. I was in the Masters. We were both in the same weight, and he had gotten down to, I think, 210, 215, and looked like an underwear model. I mean, he was so ripped, and now he's back up to what, 240, 250?
Yeah, something like that. Because
he did it on purpose, but not like
he's around 250. Because we both competed in the heavyweight at USS Nats. I just didn't feel like cutting weight.
Yeah, right.
So I was very underweight, and I didn't even compete in 242 because I was like 248, and I was like, I'm not even cutting to 242. Like, I'm just going to show up and roll with the bigger guys.
I went to the only nationals. I qualified 3 times for nationals, and the only nationals I went to was the one in Louisville, Kentucky.
I wasn't there that year. Yeah,
I showed up and was planning on. Yeah, I was planning on competing in the Masters 242, and they get there and they say, "Oh, there's no 242." I was like, "What?" They're like, yeah, you're just going to compete with the heavyweights. I'm in there with like fucking Ken McClellan and and Vaccio and all these. I'm like, what the fuck, man? There's like 2 of me.
They're giants.
But I was having fun. I just screwed around, but I was by far the smallest guy in that competition. I was like, oh, well, there's no 242 class. Does that mean I'm automatically the champion? I mean, I'll go compete with these guys, but can I be the champ? And they're like, no.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Oh, man, yeah. Well, that's why, too, I feel badly for like 200s.
Yeah.
Let's just be real. In subclasses, that's why I was like, I'm not going to cut 242.
Yeah.
It's just roll with the big dudes.
Yeah, and that's what I did, and it was, it was fun. It was a good time, kind of. There was too many people. There's too many people at nationals. It drives me nuts. There's
USS, I mean, that's
300 plus athletes is too much.
Because they have a lot bigger of a. They allow a lot more people in, regardless of how people feel about that. Their shows are always bigger.
Yeah,
they're national shows.
Well, and I noticed that because I qualified twice for USS Nationals, once for Strongman Corps, and it was the first year I ever did Strongman. Was the year I qualified for Strongman Corps, and I qualified in Erie, Pennsylvania, and then Nationals was like 3 weeks later. And I looked at the weights. I'm like, oh yeah, I can't lift those weights. There's no fucking way. But USS seemed to be a little bit lighter, so that's why I went to that one.
Yeah, USS seems to be a little more medley heavy.
Yeah, that's good for me if I can move. Yeah.
But it seems like strongman overall is moving that way too. I think that's why guys like Shaw are having trouble. I think if you put 2 to 3 static events, Shaw's still one of the strongest men on the planet. I mean,
you get an ebb and flow with that.
You put Martins killed it this last year.
Yeah.
Absolutely destroyed it. But, like, if you have all of them pull a 747, Shaw's going to kill him.
Yeah.
If you have a, Max Yoke, he's going to kill him. If you have, Max Frame Carry, he's going to be top 3. He's going to be top 3 in a really heavy deadlift. Now, all of a sudden, you put a press medley where it's slightly moderate weight, and it's just who can do it faster. You do a stone series, and the Stoltman brothers are just, Shaw has a world record, and he could lift a bigger stone. If it was a max stone, he'd win. But who can do a stone series faster?
Yeah.
Who can do this medley faster? Okay, now all of a sudden he's sliding down in the points, both due to just his massive size, but also his age as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just the events. But I mean, I don't know. Strongman.
Well, you see the ebb and flow. So when Sigmarsson and them were going. There seem to be a lot more medleys, but it's more entertaining to watch. Now you get to the Arnold, and there's no room for that really if they're on the main stage. So everything by necessity's got to get heavier. Although I'm speaking from just watching on a rogue, I haven't actually been to the Arnold in years. But the coolest event I've seen lately was that odd-shaped stone from a couple years ago, where only the one one guy was able to
400 and some shoulder stones, natural stone.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, that stuff's awesome.
We put it in our Highlander this year just because it was so cool, and people seem to really dig it.
I think natural stones are a great way to train Atlas stones because, A, you can get them anywhere. Just go hiking.
That's what we did.
And I have a buddy of mine who just loves strongman, and he came down 2 years ago to do Beast in the Bluegrass. We went to college together. He'd never touched an Atlas stone in his life. Never. But his dad's an electrician, so he got one of those old, huge spools. Probably the height of this table, so not even very high. And used a skid steer to drag a bunch of stones out of the river. bunch of natural stones. He didn't even know what they weighed. They're just smallest to largest, and he would practice lifting them, for time or reps or whatever the case might be. And never touched an Atlas stone in his life. And, he didn't do super well in the competition as a whole, but he won the stones.
Yeah.
Because he was like, these are spherical, and I get to use tacky.
Oh, yeah, that's a game changer, right?
Perfectly balanced stones that you get to use tacky and a grip shirt.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he just threw them up there. And the last stone was, I think, a 330 stone. And, I mean, he just literally picked it, lapped it, set it up there like it was nothing.
Yeah.
It was just really impressive. And I think, and all he does is practice with natural stones.
I think you could get away with practicing just stones your whole life and getting really goddamn good shape and be pretty damn strong.
It's interesting. Some, people that don't understand either, biomechanics or have never done it. I'll get a lot of relatives like, "Oh my goodness, how does that not hurt your back and your knees?" I'm like, honestly, stones make me feel good.
Yeah.
If I'm squatting or deadlifting a lot, I feel like I'm stuck in extension or something. That front-loaded position.
Yeah.
I feel great when I'm done doing stones.
Yeah.
When you think about it, your entire body is working. I mean, I've literally dropped a stone because my calf is cramped. Probably because my hamstrings are exhausted, so calves are taking over on the extension. But literally everything, every part of your posterior chain.
This is my whole philosophy on using them for athletes. Yeah. You don't need a $1 billion Sorinex weight room. You need a guy who knows how to make stones, buy some molds, or go, like you said, get them out of the river, and get somebody who wants to get rid of their tires. And my son, he plays on a high school football team here locally, and he's a freshman starting varsity. And I offered last year to do all their strength and conditioning for free, and the guy turned me down. But I think if I was to do it, and I was given my opportunity to do it the way I wanted, because none of these kids are strong, none of them are in shape, none of them are high level enough that we should be putting a bar on their back. But get some tires and stones and some kettlebells and get them moving, and I think athletically they would do so much better. I could take a football team and create monsters with very, very limited
I'm training two
equipment.
Kids, a friend of mine, I'm training his two boys. They're 12 and 14. They're big into basketball. And the 14-year-old just grabbed the rim for the first time.
Yeah, right.
When he started with me, he was 114 pounds. He's now 138. Just to this.
That's huge, and it's probably all solid muscle.
Yeah, I mean, he's a 14-year-old kid who's barely weighing like 140 pounds, soaking wet, but he just pulled 250 on a trap bar for a triple. I got this other kid. I'm not doing his training, but he plays football. He's a pretty good football player for Tates Creek High School, and just a skin and bones kid.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing his nutrition plan for him, and he's up like 18 pounds, and he's like, his dad texts me, he's like, he's my mechanic, is how I met him. He's like, this kid never loses stamina. Like, he's just constantly going and going and going. It used to be that he was just really tired and sluggish in the fourth quarter, and now it's like he gets done the game and wants to keep playing.
Yeah.
Like, wants to go to the gym and lift. It's all nutrition.
Yeah,
kids are eating garbage, and these high schools too. There's a lot of good coaches out there, but then some of these programs, I wonder what the heck they're doing.
Well, so the difference is so we had a kid in here last night. He's been training with me for like 4 months. He's in fantastic condition, really strong, really good basketball player. Basketball season's starting, and of course they've got him training like 4 hours a night or something. And he's like, man, I'm really upset that I won't be able to come in as much anymore. And he said, but my coach didn't want me coming in here anyhow, and I can't figure out why. And I'm like, because your coach doesn't get it. I go, I would never, ever go and try to coach these kids in basketball because I don't know fucking shit about basketball. But these coaches all think that he goes, oh, I went into the weight room and it was a big joke. These kids were like trying to squat. They all looked horrible. And I'm like, yeah, but these coaches all think that it's just something. Oh yeah, I lifted weights in high school, so I should be able to teach them how to do this.
Yeah, absolutely not. There's no understanding of how to periodize it and how to structure programming for in season versus off season.
Yeah.
I mean,
how to instruct in technique properly.
We're not even talking about technique. We're talking about not just program layout.
Think about me trying to teach a kid to do a layup and never having played a game of organized basketball in my life. I wouldn't even know where to begin, Yeah, it's sad, but my kid is fucking on point. He's squared away, comes home from practice, he's out in the garage doing pull-ups. he's getting ready to go. But
That's awesome.
that's why my kid can play as a freshman.
Right.
And some of these kids aren't ready till juniors or senior year, and then they're not ready. You know,
Not that great. They
No.
could be so much better.
Well, I'm dealing with an 0-9 football team going against another 0-9 football team tonight, so I'm hoping for that first victory.
Yes.
You know,
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm just hoping to not freeze my ass off in the bleachers tonight.
Yeah,
But
man, the temperature shift. But I love it.
what was it when you left Kentucky?
I don't know what it was, but I know 2 days ago it was like 60 degrees, and then literally the temperature just dropped into the 20s. It was like, I think it was 35 this morning. As a hunter, I love it.
Yeah.
Because the problem is, I just sweat by existing.
Yeah, right.
So, even my closest stand to my car is like a mile and a half. And so early season, it's like by the time I get there, I have to soak myself in, stuff to just
Yeah,
take away
right.
the odor and stuff like that. It's just,
See,
they're smart, man.
I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I am very manly in the fact that I'm always cold. So my wife's laughing at me. I'm like wrapped up on the couch in a blanket. I used to travel with Overfelt. He used to bitch at me because I go into the hotel and turn the heat on. He was all, I don't know what the story is behind that. Something's probably wrong with me, but
yeah, no idea. But I'm always sweating.
Yeah.
I'm always.
Well, that's
sweating
how you're
because
supposed to be when you're big. That's the way it's supposed to
It's
work.
frustrating. Like I'll start sweating. I eat a meal with any measure of protein. I mean, I ate that one protein bar with like 20 grams of protein, and immediately it's just that thermic effect.
Right.
Metabolism going. Jeez, this is terrible.
Well, we're going to get some lifting in too today.
Yeah,
and what are you doing? You're deadlifting?
Yeah, deadlifting. I strained my SI a little bit like a week ago.
Yeah.
My chiropractor is awesome. I feel really good. But I'm just going to take it easy.
Good, because I can't hang with you unless you take it easy, and I probably still can't, but we'll give it a shot.
I'm going to take it easy on that and save my big pool for Colorado.
We're going out to train with Shaw. That'll be cool.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. My buddy Ant is out there. I'm going to stay with him and hang out and see the area. I've got a lot of friends out there in the strongman community, and then get a chance to train with Brian will be pretty sweet.
I dig it.
So, I'm hoping I can. My deadlift is my weakest event.
Yeah.
It always has been. I mean, it's decent now for where I'm at, but it still needs to be better.
Yeah.
For the pro level 105s, I need to be close to 800.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me.
I remember just like 10 years ago, if a dude in a middleweight could deadlift 600, he was like freak strong. 700 was godlike and almost unheard of, and 800 was like, no.
When I was on the pro circuit for Highland Games, I weighed well over 300 pounds, like 310, 315, and I could deadlift 730.
Yeah.
And there was a handful of people in the country, if not the world, who could do that. And there was only one guy, Danny Wolber, who could pull 900, and you didn't hear about anyone in between 700 and 900. Right. And now, all of a sudden, everybody can do it. What the fuck?
Yeah, like 700 for a top-level 105 is a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
It's not that
And
impressive.
you just never saw that. I think it's all because of social media. People see it happen on social media and go, oh, yeah, I can do it too then.
Well, I think there's that. I think, honestly, too, you just have the proliferation of better training methodology, the internet and social media. I mean, go back and watch some of the World's Strongest Man competitions from the 1980s. And those guys were freak strong for their era.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
they were lifting 300-pound Atlas stones.
Right. I mean, you've seen John Paul's There's No Reason to Be Alive If You Cannot Do the Deadlift.
Yeah.
It was 1,000 pounds, but it started above the knee.
Yeah, it was like a 3-inch deadlift. Yeah.
Right, and I just watched several 105Ks pull over $1,000 on an 18-inch deadlift,
Yeah.
And, I remember, I think one year, the log press that won was like 286.
Yeah.
And it was 280 at Nationals for reps in a minute for the middleweights. I remember, I forget who it was watching them load. It was like to 44 inches. It was like to a barrel. And gets the stone up into his lap. The crowd is cheering, going wild. Drops the stone again. Like, oh, so he tries again, repicks it, laps it, finally loads it. And the announcer goes crazy. And he's like, this is a 353-pound stone.
Yeah.
And now we're all like, I mean, literally almost all of us at 105 ASM didn't train stones. It was a 400-pound stone. Most of us got at least 2 reps.
Right, yeah.
On it, we're like, what? And I don't think it's just, I think honestly just training methodology.
Yeah.
People understand how to train to express strength a lot more than they did in the past.
It's just that natural progression, and just watching. I came through Highland Games the same way. Numbers are way low, and then I was in it for, 22 years, 25 years, and just watch the numbers go up and up and up and up and up. And I don't know if the athletes now are any better than the athletes. I mean, you had Ben Plucknick, who was the world record holder in the discus throwing back then. So I'm guessing they weren't better than him, but they threw a lot further.
Because it's also one of those things where those guys only had access to what they had access to. So
right.
Could you imagine if a John Paul Sigmarsson, or
Kaz,
a Kaz were a strongman today?
Yeah.
With today's methodology, as crazy great as they were, what if they had
small in comparison?
Right. Today's technology and and I think you're right with social media too, because when you would compete, you probably went for weeks and weeks and weeks without seeing another competitor, except maybe in a magazine and a write-up.
Yep.
But I mean, I watch deadlift videos by the hundreds weekly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I have the ability to break things down and go, oh, look at this, oh, look at that, right? So you're just inundated with it. So I think that matters. I think it plays a big role into it.
Yeah, watching my son watch throwing videos now, and it's just like there's so many of them. Back when I was a kid, you had to watch NBC Sports and tape the 4-second clip of a guy throwing,
Right.
And now he can just Google anybody he wants,
Yeah, I trained a Highland Games athlete in Lexington. He's trying to get me to come out and throw with him. I do want to. I want to try it sometime.
It's fun. It's a good time. You'll enjoy it a lot, and it's just like strongman in the camaraderie and the community. And
seems like it.
Go talk to fat ass Kerry Overfeld over in Bardstown, and he'll help you out.
He's a good dude. I've been down there. And,
you got to be careful of Bardstown, though, man. People are getting murked all the time in that town.
Really?
You ever heard that story?
No.
Bardstown, there's a podcast.
I live 2 hours away.
It's specifically dedicated to all the murders that have been going on in Bardstown.
Jeez.
Cops are getting whacked and drug dealers are getting whacked. It's remember that show Justified that used to be? It's that. It's crazy. Jeez. Yeah. Yeah, Kerry had a guy shot in his backyard. A guy was running through his backyard and somebody shot him. Didn't kill him, but shot him.
Jeez.
Crazy ass hillbillies down there, man.
I don't know if I want to go down there now. We're going to do another strongman seminar. I did one down there last April.
For Kerry? Yeah. Be careful.
We're going to do one again this year, but
you better have him running some tight security in that ghetto town he's living in, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always carrying, but I'll have to maybe carry an extra bag.
I would.
Maybe some armor.
Yeah. Just be careful. I don't want to have you on the show again. I don't want anything bad happening to you.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard about that. I mean, I've been down there one time, and I stopped there at a Wendy's.
That's about it. There's check it. You search it on iTunes. There's a podcast called Bardstown, and it's all about that. And he was telling us about it a couple years ago when he was on the podcast about how crazy it was getting, and also there's a podcast out about it. And
that's nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Just like you said, it's not any different in the inner city than it is in some of these backwater towns.
Some areas, man, they're struggling just as much. The poverty eastern Kentucky, man, the poverty is sky high.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I meant to bring it up at the beginning when we were talking about. I think one thing that would be interesting to do. There's pros and cons, but there's studies out showing that and suggesting that one of the markers of health, like one of the vital signs, should be muscle mass.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that? If some dude that's 170 pounds gets diagnosed with MS or some muscle wasting disease, and another dude who's 250, who's going to have the better prognosis?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
stuff. The guy who's got a lot more mass on him, who's going to live longer with these different types of diseases, and so they're arguing that muscle mass should be a vital sign.
Yeah.
Along those lines, I think it'd be interesting if doctors could prescribe exercise. Actually prescribe it as a means of health. And so I just think about the opioid crisis in Kentucky, and I think about what I firmly believe, that the opposite of addiction is not sobriety, it's community.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if we were able to prescribe some of these addicts, no, you have to go 3 days a week to this thing, and if there were gyms and owners who would be certified, whatever. The only thing that scares me is when you do that, now you're introducing government regulation into fitness, and it's get the heck out.
The thing that.
But could you imagine what impact that could have? Because we know the impact that a thriving community can do for people, and if you gave them a place to come and feel like a sense of belonging, and a sense of accomplishment and worth, and a lot of these people aren't going to try it out right away, but if they were made to go, how many people have reluctantly joined a gym only 2 years later be like, this saved my life?
Yeah. Well, that functional medicine, which is now a new branch of medicine is trying to incorporate all those things in together, nutrition and doctors and exercise and all that stuff. I think it's a good path.
Well, the only problem is, so I had a doctor approach me in Eastern Kentucky with this idea. He and I couldn't have been more aligned. But he dealt with opioid addiction. His thing was he wanted to build like a gym at his office and then have me come in there and train these people. I said, exercise is great. That's not the point. They need to be out of a clinical setting. They need to be in a setting with other humans interacting.
Yep. Even if it's a block away.
Correct.
Get them out of there.
You need to partner with people, partner with gym owners and stuff like that.
And a bunch of gym owners.
Correct. It's not something you can force gym owners to do, but if they need to go through some sort of training, if you need to, if the state wanted to fund that, or if you wanted to fund that, and there's a collective of gym owners across the state that participate in this program, and maybe it's subsidized, because let's just be real, the type of people that are prescribing this probably don't have the money to pay for this. And you can't expect gym owners also, there can be some give and take if they want to volunteer, but they need to be compensated. So maybe if the state wants to, fund some of that or whatever else. But again, that's the only thing I worry about is when the state starts giving you money, they start asking for things in return. That's the one place I don't want to go down that road. But I think there's an opportunity there.
Yeah, there's potential
among addicts for prescribing that sort of exercise, that sort of community. I wouldn't even care what they're doing. I don't even care if it's CrossFit, because clearly CrossFit works and it builds a sense of community. If it's strongman, if it's powerlifting, I don't care.
Move and be in a community
with people.
Yep. That's everything.
Yeah.
That's everything. Well, let's go move with people. You want to go do some weightlifting?
Yeah, I'm a fan.
And get this. I got to get this workout done, and then get ready to go watch my 0-9 football team play tonight. So
yeah, what time do they play?
7. I got to drive out to it's like an hour drive or something to get to it though, in the cold. But all right, thanks for coming on the show, and we'll do it again, I'm sure.
Absolutely, it was a blast. Thanks.
This has been the Refined Savage. See ya.